Welcome to the Successful Home Inspector Podcast, where we discuss everything you need to know about home inspection from A to Z. Brought to you by Preston Sandlin and Home Inspection Carolina. We're here to share some success stories and some not so successful stories. Some things we can all learn from, and maybe, just maybe, we can help each other and raise the profession. So sit back, turn up the volume, and enjoy. Now, here's your host of the Successful Home Inspector Podcast, Preston Sandlin.
I always like to have guaranteed inspections. Well, now you can with InspectNewHomes.com. Owned and operated by the Home Inspector team. The only website that's designed for new builders and home inspectors to collaborate and work together. It's a grading system that grades new homes to increase the quality product of their homes. Bring the new builder something they've never had before. Quality inspection by a licensed home inspector at InspectNewHomes.com.
All right. Well, listeners and friends, probably mostly home inspectors, I have a special treat for you today. A fellow that I met at one of the conferences, and a real positive guy. I have Richard Leonard of Fox Mountain Inspections. Did I say that correctly, Richard?
We have Fox Mountain Property Inspections, actually, Preston.
Okay. Well, Richard, tell us a little bit more about yourself, because we'd like to get to know you personally.
Sure. Well, Preston, I've basically been a serial entrepreneur all my life. I really have never worked for anyone. Without high school, maybe a little bit, but as soon as I was out of school, boom, started my first company with an interior landscaping company.
Right.
And an exterior landscaping company, and I was involved with a garden center ownership, but settled into a tree lawn and pest control company that I started called Safer Lawn up in Connecticut.
Okay.
And grew that company over 15 years. We were servicing just over 3,200 homes and had 70 employees when I sold that company 15 years ago.
Okay.
One of the reasons why I sold it, we were successful. I was working 10 hours a week. I would show up in the office, and the managers would say, "Hey, what the heck are you doing here?" And so it was a good life, really. Unfortunately, that area up in Connecticut is fairly pretentious, and I really didn't enjoy the area. People worried about small things that I didn't really consider very important in life. But I would travel to Maryland frequently and enjoy some sporting activities down here. So sold the company, moved to Maryland, married married a nice woman, bought a farm, and started a new life, basically. But at that stage, I was like, okay, what am I going to do next? And I thought, I had this chunk of cash. And the next move was, hey, you're going to be a developer, basically. That was one of my catastrophic mistakes in life. If I just knew this one phrase at that time, days on market, for the real estate industry, I would have saved myself. But anyway, started building houses and was a home builder. But when the market crashed, I did have 5 houses on the market. And held on to them. I said, hey, I'm a guy that stands up, I'm not going to default on my mortgages, et cetera, et cetera. Unfortunately, really drained my resources. And the result of it was, in the end, to say, hey, all right, I'm just going to fold this thing and do some short sales. Didn't want to file for bankruptcy, but I short sold those 5 houses and looked at myself in the mirror and said, all right, what am I going to do next, basically? And looked at the home inspection industry as I thought there were some opportunities. Had a guy out in Kansas City, John Clayson, you may know.
Oh yeah, I know
John. So I had a rental property portfolio out there, and I called John up, and he inspected some houses for me, and said, "Hey man, I'm looking about this home inspection industry. What do you think?" He's like, "Oh yeah, it's fantastic. Really, the business is great." And he introduced me to someone that you know as well from a marketing perspective. And before I even launched that company, I went and visited that person and got some marketing tips and some things together, and then launched Fox Mountain. I was a home builder under Fox Mountain Property, so I kept the name, stayed intact, and just added inspections to it, and was off and running, basically.
Awesome. Well, it was probably being that you had been a builder and you had owned a business before. I'm sure those experiences helped you with your home inspection launch as well, I would think.
Yes, Yeah, because I had a vision, and it wasn't to be a home inspector; it was to be a business owner. So right out of the gate, I'm thinking, okay, my mentality immediately is multi-inspector firm, and what do I need to do to continually be putting the pieces in place? But first, you got to be a good technician. Yeah. So my focus initially is, all right, how long is it going to take me to be a proficient technician in the home inspection industry? I thought it was going to be about 2 or 3 years, and that's exactly what it was.
Awesome. Well, we'll get into some of that shortly here and talk about multi-inspector and how you got into that. And I want to apologize to the listeners. When you first said that you never had a job, you always were an entrepreneur. And the reason I laughed is that's my story too. I think I'm unemployable.
Oh,
I don't think I just don't make a good employee because I'm always thinking, I would do this differently. So
right, absolutely.
But before we get into the multi-inspectors to start, or how you got into that, I was trying to follow the timeline there, but I know that was somewhat after the crash, which I'm assuming you're talking about 2007-08. How long have you been doing home inspections? And tell us about the changes you've seen.
Well, I've been doing this is my 5th year doing home inspections. Okay. And the one thing I've seen certainly is an increase in transactions in that amount of time. And I think that's probably the big thing. And certainly for me, there's a lot of naysayers out there about why we can't do something or why something's difficult. I just don't listen to any of that stuff. So none of that really infiltrates my world for the most part. But I just say increase, number of transactions, I think.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to get off script here for just a second, Richard, because I didn't even realize. So you had an inspection, a portfolio. So you were investing in properties out in Kansas City. What I'm getting at with this is for a while, and some other inspectors I think there for a while I was doing inspections for this property group. It was like a mutual fund that was buying up rental houses. And man, there for a while, that was great. They were giving me 15 to 20 inspections a month. And, I did it for a little less, than my normal, but man, it was just so easy. They were all vacant, and then I got re-inspections, and it was like a machine. But then they stopped. They were buying them all over. Charlotte, other places. I don't know exactly what I'm asking, but I'm asking what I'm getting at is I would love for you to tell me how you came to own those portfolios and like a little bit about that world, and possibly to inspectors out there. How could they hook up with investors that do that sort of thing? I guess if you could shed some light, or what's your feelings or opinions on that?
Sure. Well, one of the reasons why I chose Kansas City is I looked at 7 markets across the country and looked at the difference between what they were getting in rental income versus what the purchase price of the property was. Okay. And if you could get a 2% difference here, let's say you bought something for $50,000 and you can rent it for $1,000 a month.
That's 2%. That's awesome.
Investment.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah. So I didn't want the market to be in my backyard because I really didn't want to be involved with managing the properties. So I looked at specifically remote markets that I was not going to have to be directly involved with it, and I could rely on management companies. Unfortunately, good management companies are hard to come by. So you really got to sometimes roll through a bunch of them until you find a good one. So that was the reason why I chose Kansas City, is because it fit the profile that I was looking for in those 7 markets that I did the analysis on. As far as finding an inspector out there, I'm sure I don't remember how I found John, to tell you the truth. And I do know in our local market now, in the way I found it might have been through the management company, or I did have an organization out there that was putting together these deals, right? They would get the property under contract. They would say, hey, I got a rehabber that's going to go in here and do the rehab for you. We have a management company that's going to manage the property afterwards. So they kind of put a nice little package together. And we did an inspection recently in a company locally that had the same profile. I'm not sure they really like us to watch or not, because, of course, we do a quality home inspection, and we're not going to be able to buy things that maybe they didn't think was, so So I'm not sure what the opportunity is there. Yep.
You know what, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but as you were talking, because I'm always trying to figure out, trying to go where other people, the road less traveled, but could reveal more. Where it might be a possibility, because we all market realtors, but not too many people market management companies. That might be a key thing because, all right, so if I wanted to invest in Kansas, I own a bunch of rental houses, but I have never ventured. They're all here in Charlotte, and I agree with you. I tried to be a property manager, and that sucks. I'm in like a bad neighborhood at 12 o'clock at night at the fast food, getting $200 partial rent with my kids in the car. And I'm thinking, man, this is not good. If I was a policeman, I would be thinking, this guy's doing a drug deal. But, and I'm really just getting partial rent. But anyway, I have a management company. But what I'm getting at is if I was going to invest in a town, that I'm not actively there, obviously a management company is going to be key. And, because they're going to have to be my eyes, ears, and, there. And so if that might be the person to market, to put, and especially if a management company was smart. I mean, a lot of realtors do this, but, the realtor's just going to find you the property. And, with the internet and all that stuff, I mean, people can even find their own properties. I'm not so sure to an investor I would think the management company is even more key than the realtor, Because sometimes realtors will hook you up with investors. But anyway, that may be the gold nugget, market management companies, for those type things. Yeah. I mean, in one sense, there's a trade-off. I mean, we did a bunch of those, and I'm not sure how we got hooked up. We were doing them for Blackstone and what was it, the other one?
They're a big organization.
Yeah, there was another one, something USA, Rental USA. But anyway, we did it for a little less money, but it was just, and the houses were sometimes whatever, but there was you didn't have the realtor, his uncle who did air work, heating and air 10 years ago, and the kids. I mean, you went in there, you did your thing. They came in. It was like a machine, and they did. I mean, it was very like business to business type sort of thing. It was. Yeah. But anyway, sorry.
Well, we didn't create maybe a network of that stuff. But Blackstone's a pretty large organization, right? They're a multi-billion-dollar portfolio.
Yeah.
So they're looking for stuff all over the country, right? And you could have a network of possibly of inspectors that would address that, depending on the market they were in.
Yeah, they're a mutual fund that goes up, and there's a couple of others too. There were at the time I actually researched. Sure. There were like 5 different ones. People buy, and they go into different towns. And I actually sent stuff to their financial officers, like, hey, you buy it in Charlotte, we can inspect for you. But I thought it was a good idea, but I don't think that worked. It didn't work for me, but I'm willing to try. Well, anyway, let me get us back on track. I'm sorry, I have ADD. Squirrel. Right. So cool. All right. So I'm going to combine these 2 questions. How many inspectors do you have, and what was it like to hire that first one? And all the listeners out there, there's nothing wrong with being a one-man shop or one-woman shop. That's perfectly fine. There's days I wish I could go back to that. But I know there's a lot of people that struggle to hire. So the first part is, how many inspectors do you have? What was it like to hire that first one? And take us back there and tell us, walk us through it.
Well, certainly a lot of us, most of us operate around some fear-based concepts, right? And certainly that was one for me, hiring that first inspector. But I have one other inspector full-time, and he's been with me over about a year and a half. And then I've got a second inspector in training right now. And I was really, truly a year behind in hiring that first inspector. I was turning down so much business that I just at some point had no choice but to hire him.
Right.
And going back there, it was fear, right? Fear on supplying enough business for the 2 of us.
Right.
And so once I got over that, and all right, I just got to do this thing. I had a target amount of cash I wanted to have in the bank. It was $20,000 is what I wanted. Let me have $20,000 in there on all my bills paid, and now I can sustain the training period and get this guy on the road and going and so forth. The training period took a lot longer than I anticipated, and
right.
And we can talk about that later in some of the other questions you have, I'm sure. But to get that first guy on the road, I did hire a second guy the first of the year this year. He did not work out, unfortunately, and I was smart enough, I think, to let him loose, give him an opportunity to resign, let's say.
Right.
But I was $10,000 into him on training at that point in time. So, it's painful to let someone go when you're $10,000. You got a $10,000 investment in training with that person. But nevertheless, I knew it was the right thing to do. And so I got another guy coming on right now. He's been with me for 3 weeks now. So he does not know as much as I thought he knew, which unfortunately, and I got to figure out a way to test for that so I don't fall into that trap again with the next guy.
Right.
But hey, I'm 3 weeks into him. He's a good guy. He seems to be honest, have good work ethic, good communicator. So, I'm going to stick it out with him and get him trained and on the road. It seems to me 200 inspections, 6 months of training for someone who's a newbie who really doesn't understand the industry or what you have is kind of what it's taking me. I'd love to cut that in half. For sure. So that's one of our challenges right now.
Sure, and don't feel bad. We just let a guy go last week. I brought on two, and this I've learned this the hard way. If I can, I try to hire two, and my thinking is, one of them will make it. I mean, it'd be great if both of them make it, but I found it's just about as easy to train two as it is to train one.
Interesting.
So, and it's amazing. They both had the same training, the same everything. The other guy one guy's just flourishing, and the other guy just blames everybody for his failure, basically. And I'm like, we can't deal with that. So, like you said, we had a lot of money invested in them, but you can't throw good money after bad.
That's right. And how many inspectors do you have now, Preston?
I think we have 18. I have to ask Chip.
Oh wow! That's outstanding.
Oh, thanks. But so I have a couple of guys that just do one a day. I mean, they're just sort of older. They do some other stuff, and I don't know if you count those as full time. So I don't know, how it into the calculation. But I'm okay with that. Yeah. I mean, I everybody has a slightly different business model.
Well, hey, it's all about the return on investment, right? So if you're doing one a day and you're getting the appropriate return on the investment, then that works.
That's right. Well, and I have a couple of guys that are, contractors on the side, but that's how I got them to begin with. And I know some people hate that, and I get it. Some people say you can't do that. It's all me or nothing. I'm okay with it as long as you don't do any work that on anything we inspected, because that is a conflict. Right. Now, a lot of people be like, Preston, you're crazy, blah, blah, blah. Well, not really, because if we ever have a problem or, I need a repair done, I can pull them aside and say, hey, Mike, pretty much at cost plus $100, I can get anything fixed. Within reason. I mean, obviously, I'm not getting a roof replaced for that, but
that's what I was just thinking, roof, right?
Yeah, but most of your loose toilets, that sort of thing, are things that you get a complaint on. Probably 80% of them are a trip to Home Depot and let's make them happy. And sometimes it's something that wasn't even our fault, but you know what, $100, $200, everybody's happy. Let's just do it, get it done, and
that's right.
we'll be referred. Will be more referable. Now let's go back to the training. I would love to say, anything in life you want to become, a policeman, a fireman, they have this rigid, well, not rigid, but pretty much set training thing. You got to go through this many weeks of this, and this, that, and the other. And I would love to have the exact same programs, but in my experience, what I found is guys coming in have different levels of experience, background, and different attitudes, quite frankly, too. In different amounts of time, because a lot of times they're currently working somewhere else, or and they have a family, so some of them can't just go full-time training. They can only do it part-time. So I guess what I'm getting at is here, I don't have everybody's different. I mean, at the end of the day, they have to be able to jump all the same hurdles, but everybody seems to get there at a different speed. if you hired a guy today, how would you get him from interview to inspection on his own? I mean, and my answer to that is it's everybody's different. But, before I let them out, they all have to pass the same guard doors. But how if you interviewed a guy today, how would you get him from interview? You say you like him. How are you going to get him from interview to inspecting on his own?
Well, ultimately it's about two things. It's about hiring and training. So you got to have a process for both. Hiring process for us, we certainly do the DISC assessments, and it gives us some indication at least of their communication style. Just recently, I got a really good friend of mine, very close friend, and I'm sure you know who Tony Robbins is.
Oh, yeah.
So he was Tony Robbins' right-hand guy for 15 years. And he has his own experience-based training company. Mm-hmm. Anyway, he's a DISC facilitator. He came down with our team, sat with us, and we all did our DISC profiles and role-played on communication styles, and he actually took, here's the ways these two people do not like to communicate with each other, presented an issue, and then they had to basically communicate in styles with each other that they both knew the other person didn't like. And the responses were just unbelievable. And then, let's take the third issue and communicate in the way that we know they do like. So it was very powerful stuff as far as understanding how people communicate. So that's one of the processes. Of course, background checks, driver's license checks, things like that this guy's not some sex offender or guy or gal, it could be, I guess. And so forth, is important. So to get through that first hurdle, and then, my process kind of falls apart from there, honestly, because it goes somewhat on gut reaction. Interview with my office, staff, so they get a sense of who he is. Can they work with him? And some gut reactions out of that, and ride along. So he's definitely going to ride with me for a couple of days and see, hey, is this for you? I mean, can you go up in an attic and be in an attic at 125 degrees for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, however much time you need to be up there? Can you carry a ladder? Are you afraid of heights? Things like that are important.
Computer skills.
It's right for you.
Computer skills. That's the one that we get.
Computer skills, right. So we do. Yeah, thank you. So I should have had my process in front of me. So we do have them sit down and write a paragraph in front of us. Now, unannounced, they don't know this is happening. Come in the office, sit down. Here's a topic. Write us a paragraph about it.
Right.
And so we're going to sit there and now he's under pressure, right? That person's under pressure, and they've got to type out a paragraph. And let's see what your grammar's like, punctuation's like, your typing skills are like. I mean, it reveals a lot, right?
Oh, I know. I'm going back. I'm like, look, every sentence has to have a subject and a predicate. I mean, I hate to do that. I'm like, you can't just have clauses all over the place. Subject and don't give me
basic grammar, right? I mean, it's important. It's you're a communicator. You got to be a master communicator in this business.
Yeah, I'm like, you're doing this inspection for an English professor. Really? You're going to send them that?
Right, exactly, yeah. So that's generally our hiring process, and then, they're basically riding with me every day, and I do get them going with a instant membership to the InterNACHI employee membership. It's $100. And start pushing them through those modules on InterNACHI, right? Because that's measurable. You can see what are they accomplishing, how much time are they spending on it, how committed are they at that point in time. I think Kevin O'Malley said to me that Kevin and I are good friends, and he said to me that he would do that before he even hired the person to see how aggressive they got through those modules to determine how committed they were. And that's a good concept. Like, I've invested $100 in you. Here's the training modules, go. And let's see how enthusiastic this person is to get through those modules. And you can see, right? You can see the results online on what they've done or haven't done. Maybe that's something we should consider. And then they're going to ride with me. Yeah.
Right. Yep. I like it, man. That's that's pretty much the same thing we do. And I mean, we certainly have hurdles that we get through, but I have them, ride, train. And then I always, I do it a little bit myself. My manager does it, but I put them with different guys, and I pay them a little bit extra to when they have them. And then I always talk to them after, because I always think you can learn something from, different people. be careful when you do that, though. And initially, I was a little worried that, why would this guy hire a guy who he feels like is going to take inspections away from him? But if you get to the point where you're like you were early on, where you're turning business away, I think they'll get it. And if they've been with you a while, they know. I mean, they know. And it's seasonal. I mean, this time of year, we're the girls in the office are begging them to do an extra inspection.
Sure.
And they don't want to work on the weekends. But in the winter, they'll say, I'll do one on Saturday and Sunday. Because
no kidding.
And I'll drive further. So anyway.
Yeah.
Interesting. Let me curious, changing gears just a little bit, Richard. Do you have a success quote you'd like to share with us, and why do you like it?
Well, I do have a couple things that I use. First of all, I like things in threes. Right? It doesn't give any one power to one thing individually, and each thing allows for the equal amount of power.
Nice.
Devoted to it. But I live a life, and I have certainly a number of years to come up with these three words. But my life basically revolves around three words, and it's freedom, growth, and joy.
Nice.
And I can categorize anything I got going on in my life into one of those categories, right? Freedom is money. Freedom is to choose, travel, basically, make choices that I want to make, not that I have to make. And growth, always be growing. Always be growing, always be growing, always be growing. If I'm not growing, if you're not reading something, going to a seminar, doing something, that's a trigger for me. Find something. Go find something.
Right.
Anything.
Right.
It could be a book. Always be growing. And then joy. Just simply live a life of joy. Have a joyous life. But one of the quotes I do use frequently, there's no breakthrough without a breakdown. And that allows for me to embrace breakdowns. When something bad happens or something negative happens or there's a big roadblock we hit, you can take a deep breath and go, oh, man, no breakthrough without a breakdown, which means there's an opportunity there. There's an opportunity. So the breakdown, the bigger the breakdown, the bigger the opportunity. So it allows me to embrace breakdowns and go like, all right, take a step back. Got a big opportunity here. Let's see what it's going to be. And that's been consistently true through most of my life, and just embrace the breakdown because there's a breakthrough in there.
Awesome, man. I love that. That's very much, I'm a big stoic. I'm big into stoicism. I don't know if you ever read the Epictetus or Seneca or Marcus Aurelius. Huge. And, as far as joy, one thing that I found that Stoics did, this is going to sound bug-eyed crazy, but it works. They call it negative visualization. And you just do it for 5-10 minutes a day. And each day, just visualize the worst possible, well, not worst possible, but everything in life is temporary. So envisioning the death of your wife or your child or something. And I know what you're saying. Oh my God, Preston, what? And then, your business or, being sued out of existence. Just visualize that for me. And I know everybody's probably cringing in their seat. And you just visualize it. And what would that look like? And how's that going to happen? And go there for 5 minutes and then come back. And then you realize that, you didn't lose them. Your business is still here. Your wife's still there. But then it makes you go out and enjoy them that much more. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Sure.
You don't think negative all day long. You just go there for about 5 minutes. And every day, it's called negative visualization. And, man, it works. And it makes you enjoy and because we all fall into what they call, harmonic adaptation or something like that. We just adapt to whatever it is, and we complain about things that somebody from Haiti would love to have. You know what I mean? That
exactly right. Yeah, right.
So you visualize yourself. Anyway, sorry I got off on a tangent, but I'm right there with you. I don't take anything for granted. Every day's a gift, man. Well, I'm going to combine these two questions. I know we don't have much spare time because we work all the time, but if you had spare time, what would you do? And tell us something that most people don't know about
Well, I have to think about that because I'm a pretty open book. Well, I went to a ski academy for high school. That was one thing people don't know about me. Played on the semi-pro ski circuit a little bit, but you got to be that sport's measured in milliseconds. So you got to be really the top of the top to go anywhere in that. But I love to ski. It was a great sport. And skied all over the world and so forth. But otherwise, what I do in my spare time now is I do a lot. I'm a staff rider for a fox hunting club.
Oh wow!
So if you think about what is fox hunting in America, and truly, we're not really killing fox. That makes the sport even more ridiculous. Although we could say all sports are somewhat ridiculous, I guess.
Right.
It's what you enjoy is ultimately. But, I'm on a staff rider. Basically, we have 40 foxhounds, and as a staff rider, you're involved with hunting those hounds, basically. But really what we're doing is chasing hounds in America in mounted fox hunting. Back in the day, a staff rider would carry a Jack Russell Terrier in the back pocket of your jacket. And when you run your foxhounds, run your fox into what we call run him to ground, when he goes in a hole. Dismount your horse, pull your foxhounds back, stick your Jack Russell Terrier in the hole, and it kind of finishes up the deal. Now that was back in the George Washington days, and that was George Washington's favorite sport was mounted fox hunting. So we don't do that part anymore. Yep, we don't do that. And once we run that fox to ground, basically, there's some drinking involved usually. But if you can imagine, you're risking life and limb because the staff rider generally is expected to be able to jump a gate. It's aggressive, it's adrenaline filled, and it requires you to have some good horses, gets you outside. It's a fun sport. So I do some other hunting, mostly fowl hunting, geese, duck, dove, that kind of thing. I do some motorcycling, a bit of motorcycling. But, like your motorcycle you don't have to ride your motorcycle, right? I mean, he'll sit there and be okay. Your horses, you got to ride. You got to keep them fit.
Right.
It does take some time and energy, energy to do that. Because my guys are tuned athletes, basically. And so I count on them. I count on them to take good care of them. So that's some of the activities I do.
And for people who don't know Richard, I met him. He's a really in shape guy. He's heading to the gym after this, so we gotta. But
I think I've seen you down in the gym a couple times too.
So I'm sitting there thinking, wait a minute, this guy was a competitive skier, fox hunter, motorcyclist. Dude, you need to make like GoPro videos or something. You could have I could see your channel would be huge. It's all about YouTube channels these days. But
I guess it is. Yeah. I have to think about that. I have to get a GoPro for the fox hunting. That could be good.
Oh man, I learned something today. You may be the most interesting home inspector in the world. I have never had fox hunting come up before. That's pretty. I learned something. Of course, the drinking part that makes me. Hey, I'm in. How long we got to wait till it goes to ground?
Well, my other home inspector, Dan, my full-time guy, he's even more interesting actually than I am. Dan inherited a 170-acre farm, and his dad would fly to work every day from the farm. So he's got a FAA-sanctioned airstrip on the farm.
Wow.
But anyway, Dan has an open cockpit biplane, 1942 Stearman.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
We are committed this year to finding an inspection where we can fly into and land in the field behind the house. So sometime this year we're going to do that.
Awesome.
If we could tuck that thing into some neat places,
Well, what would be cool? I wish I could. There's a neighborhood actually not too far from us. It's Arrow Plantation. There's a neighborhood here in Weddington that has an airstrip on it. And many of the houses, they have their airplanes. Many of the houses actually have a hangar on it, or there's hangars. But it's an airport neighborhood, so it's very attractive to people. Who if you've got to travel all over for your job, that live here and they just go get on their plane. That's their driveway.
Right, that's the driveway. Yeah, love it. Right.
I wish I could fly, and then I'd say, we could just fly into your neighborhood. That would be cool. Hey, don't be flying down here and taking my business now. I'm just kidding.
Well, Steelman flies pretty slow, so it'll take a long time to get down there.
Cool.
But I can do some. He and I have friends too. We do some fun things together.
Awesome. Well, I got one more question before we're up against the break, but I wrote a note. I'm sorry, I'm backtracking here for the listeners. I meant to mention this back when you were talking about the disc profile. I did want to tell everybody that you can take that test or on Tony Robbins' website, I think for free. Now, obviously, they're going to get your email and you're going to start getting bombarded with, stuff, but you can actually, I think, I did it a year or two ago. I think you can still do it. But if you want to take a disc profile, and have people take it, I think I don't know the exact, if it's TonyRobbins.com or whatever, but you can take it for free and get the results for free on his website if the listeners are interested. Well, last question here.
It's worth doing, too, right? It's worth doing because it's giving you some insight into yourself, but, certainly it gives everyone an insight into each other.
Absolutely. And have your significant other take it, too, and y'all look at each other. That's kind of high.
Yeah.
But anyway, hey, it reveals a lot. Last question here, and then we're up for pause for sponsors. All right, Richard, you know as well as I do that if you do enough inspections, you're going to have an unhappy camper. How do you handle an unhappy camper? Do you have a process? What's that look like?
Well, fortunately, we haven't had a lot of them. However, it is happening, and I think the first thing is to be positive.
Right.
Listen well, ask questions. We do say the office handles most of those because what we say is a report stands on its own.
Right.
And so they can pull the report up, look through it, address most of the time the concern, establish whether it's part of the standards of practice or not,
right,
and see if it needs to get escalated then up to the next level. In Maryland, we have a limitation of liability clause that says our liability is limited to the cost of the inspection. However, as you know, what's more important in some of these cases is the relationships that you build with real estate agents and your reputation. We have bought a roof, I can tell you. I did buy one roof. It was not very comfortable.
Yeah.
And the inspector did kick in for that, but, it was a little too rich for him to take on the whole thing, certainly. So we carried most of the burden on that. Our warranty company covered some of it, and unfortunately, my insurance company, believe it or not, covered a little bit of it. But we did pay out on that. We've had other situations, certainly, broken stopper or something like that. It's not our fault; it has nothing to do with us. I'm sending a plumber to go take care of it.
Sure.
No questions about that. Because it's just easier to spend $100, $150, and make the problem go away and give someone a wow, essentially. So fortunately, we're not sour with a tremendous amount of that, but I know it's coming. I know if you add people, it's just the odds of it all, right? Just playing the numbers, you're going to have to deal with more complaints. And so I think the big thing is training, right? Training your guys so you don't have them in that ongoing training process. So that's kind of how we're dealing with it now. And I suspect that process will get more refined over time.
Sure. And have an airplane bottle handy just in case you have to make a call or something. All right, I need a shot of bourbon before I make this phone call because I need to relax my nerves. No,
ultimately, we're in the service business, right? I mean, that's our business. It's a service business.
Right.
So, you got to service people. You got to serve them.
Sure. Well, and I look at it, look at your total numbers and, you like you said, you add people, I heard one time, I don't know where I got this from, an average inspector has $1,800 worth of stuff a year. And, that's probably about right. I would say, an average good inspector, and I know there's some people out there saying, I'm the best inspector ever. Well, you could be freaking Superman and see through walls, and you're going to get something because it's just some things it would trip. I mean, it just, but I'm telling you.
We do use a recovery fund. We do use a recovery fund for I think we're taking $10 per inspection. Per inspection that we're putting aside for recovery fund for that inspector.
Sure, but that $1,800 doesn't come like $1,800 this year, $1,800 next year. It'll come like this. Like one of my best inspectors, almost nothing one year, maybe $200-$300 that year, maybe $400 or $500 one year, nothing, and then he had one that's $5,000. So you average it out, and believe it will happen. It will happen. Just be prepared for it, and it's part of doing it. Okay. Well, Richard, we're going to get into some highs and lows, but first, let's take a pause for our sponsors.
Hey, home inspectors out there. I'm going to tell you a creative, inexpensive way to increase your business massively. Go to homeinspectionflyers.com and get the flyers. You get 5 flyers a month. You customize them to yourself. They're turnkey, they're creative, and it's $29 a month for 5 flyers. That's less than $6 a flyer. And they are done by yours truly, Preston Sandlin. And I am a creative guy, especially when I don't take my medication. But I come up with some crazy stuff. It works for my business. I went from 1 inspector to 7 inspectors with this strategy alone. So again, for $29.95, you get 5 flyers. I do 1 per week. I send them off to get copied on the internet. I can get them for about 7 cents a piece, and I put them out in the boxes when I do my candy run. Works fantastic. homeinspectionflyers.com. Thanks.
All right, Richard, we are back here with Richard out of Maryland, and he has been the most interesting man in home inspection. I'm gonna make a meme. Well, that's what I need to do when I put up your link. I need to make a meme like the Dos Equis, the most interesting man in home inspection. So,
awesome.
Well, Richard, tell us about a time when you failed. Take us there, and what did you learn from it? Sorry.
Well, undoubtedly when I was building those houses and the market tanked.
Right.
Yeah, that was a pretty massive failure. The cost financially was significant. It did cause a divorce for me as well. So, both in life, it was challenging and difficult, and some would say catastrophic financially. However, I did not have to file bankruptcy, so that was good, and my credit remained intact, which was positive. So that was probably one of the biggest challenges. I got a short memory, so I have a short memory for failures. I'm sure there are more over the years, but that's probably the most recent one that stands out.
Yeah, well, that's I remember they asked some quarterback back in the day, I can't remember who it was, one of the great, I don't know if it was Jurgensen or somebody, but they asked him, what is the best talent you look for in a receiver? And he said a short memory.
Okay, right.
Because they miss one, it like gets in their mind, and they that is just if you have a little failure, you got to forget it and move on and not think not dwell on it.
Right.
Well, on the other end of the spectrum, Richard, tell us, have you had I'm going to change this to I've come a long way moment. Have you had that moment yet? Okay.
Yeah, when I sold that company up in Connecticut 15 years ago, there was this, you get a bunch of cash, you got 5 years of income coming in without having to go do anything. There was a feeling of bliss and freedom, and I remember some moments that were exceptional in selling that. Some fear, what are you going to do next as well, but there was definitely, without a question, peace and bliss associated with that feeling.
Awesome. Do you have a favorite book you could recommend to the listener, and what is it about the book that appeals to you?
Well, I do have a lot of favorite books, but I think probably the one cornerstone of all of these, or many of these books out there that get you thinking in positive ways and so forth. In 1910, Wallace Waddle wrote Getting Rich.
Yep.
And it's just a simple book. I like simple things. It's a simple book, but if you can, what he says in that book in the beginning is, it's the science of getting rich. That means if you follow the science, you will be rich.
Right.
And It's not a heavy read. It's an easy read, but it's a powerful book, and I would highly recommend it to anyone.
Yeah, and it's not. I imagine that he made the title to catch people's eye and sell more books, but it's more substantive. That I know the title makes you think, oh yeah, right, but no, it's a lot of substance in it. I mean, I think the title. I think the title does it a little. I like it too, but I don't let the title fool you. I mean, I know that sounds a little. I think you just had that title to, but it is. There's a lot of substance in that book, and it is one of my favorites as well. This question actually should have been the same as the other one, so I'll ask it. Let's say that I'm a buyer or real estate agent in your market. There are other home inspectors in your market. Why should I hire you, Richard, or why should I hire your company? Is there something you guys do that others don't?
Well, our market's relatively small, and I got to say that we're on the cutting edge of things. So some of the things that I know in our world that have been done for a long time have not done a long time in our market. So the simple things like the recall check, 90-day warranty, and homeowners network, those are basically our three things. And I think we could add a whole bunch more. We've got 10 other ones we're looking at, right? Well, does it have value, doesn't it, and so on and so forth. So those three things do make us stand out in this market. But the other thing, I think, as much as anything, the thing I love about this business is it's a simple business. This is not complicated. Right? In the market, we take a phone call, we schedule an inspection, we go do an inspection, we deliver reports. There's not a lot to it. And that I love simple businesses, duplicatable, repeatable. So we are in the service business. So give exceptional service. Answer the telephone. My attitude is this: your employees, your associates, as I call them, are only going to love the customer as much as they love the company. So my job as CEO is to build a company people love coming to work every day. That's my job. And so that shows, right? That shows when they answer the phone. That shows when someone's got a problem. That shows when someone's got a question. That shows when someone's asking for something outside of the norm. And that we are here to serve. And no request is too large. Because that's what we're doing. I had a good example. It was actually yesterday. The client was there. They had chosen another inspector. After talking to our office, they called the other inspector. They said, hey, no thanks. We're taking these guys. We're $100 more for the inspection. They chose us instead. And one of the things the guy said to this person on the phone was, hey, I hear some kids in the background. Are the kids going to be at the inspection? She said, yeah, absolutely. She says, oh, you're going to have to do something about that. That's not going to work out for us. Because they're going to distract you, and you're not going to be focused on the inspection. Wow. Can you believe this guy said this?
Oh, my gosh. That is crazy. He's your best. He's your best. He's your best marketer, man.
Wow. I found a couple of big things in that crawl space in that house, so he was really appreciative that we were the ones that were there. But it's just an attitude of service.
Sure.
So you got to give exceptional customer service. That's what we do. We're a service company. That's why you call it a service company. And I think anyone thinks that they're just in a home inspection company and not in a service business, is missing something here for sure. So have an attitude of service. And agents know that, right? The teams know that. These agents that have teams and they have that administrator in the office, they really appreciate us because they know they're not going to get jerked around. They're going to have a request. They're going to want something that's going to get delivered. Boom.
Gold nugget right there, brother. Gold nuggets. Yeah, you're right. It is a simple business. I mean, I get down on it sometimes when I get a complaint or something. But, yesterday I went and I love homegrown tomatoes, one of my favorite joys in life. Okay. And I stop at this stand, and it's like a farmer there. And I think, my gosh, man, he has to sit out there all day and sell those tomatoes and grow them. And if he doesn't sell them, they go bad. I'm like, wow, I wouldn't want to do that. But I do love homegrown tomatoes. I mean, I can't imagine being in the business of he grew them, but imagine having to buy inventory that's perishable and then sell it, and you're making the margin. But if they go bad, that's a complicated business, actually. actually, because
yes, it is. Yep.
But anyway,
Yep.
We talked a little bit about the changes you've seen, and I know nobody has a crystal ball, but if you could, you're knowledgeable about this business. What do you think, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, how do you think the home inspection business will change?
Well, I'm certainly hoping it doesn't, but you got to be thinking about that stuff, for sure.
Yeah.
Right? It's basically a little it's a cottage industry, what I would think of. It's mostly made up of single operators and so forth. But I think as you've seen, and you stand out as an example, these multi-inspector firms there's more and more of them out there. And I think that's positive for the industry personally because it sets standards for performance. However, I do have some concerns. I mean, you look at what's happened to the appraisal industry.
Yes.
When you see that could possibly occur, that change there is concerning. And what I've seen in that as well locally is an erosion of quality in the appraisal industry.
Absolutely.
And an erosion of income for the appraisers.
Right.
So to think that, could that happen to us is a concern. And I think it's important that we have someone that would stand up for us and so forth. And to my knowledge right now, Ashley is the only one that's got a lobbyist that's out there. Is that correct?
I think so. I think you're right. I could be wrong, but to my knowledge, I think you're right. And for the listeners,
I think our industries, yep.
Go ahead. Sure.
Well, just that our industry leaders, it's important for them to step up. I mean, Internachi, it doesn't take much to do the math to see how many members they have and do some quick calculations to establish what kind of income they're experiencing. I think it's important for those organizations who are taking our money monthly to be standing up for us, and to me, they should be the ones that are out there in front to protect us individually in our industry. And
sure.
I hope that's a conversation that gets expanded over time to really be putting some dollars associated with it. I know I do cut a check every year for. I'm not an Action member. I'm an Internachi member, but I do cut a check for the lobbyist annually because I think it's critically important that they're out there taking care of us.
I agree, and I want to give all the listeners out there, probably most people know, and you can fill in any gaps here, the appraisal industry. So what happened to them was they were a lot like us before. They marketed their business. They go out and basically, kind of do a mini inspection, but they're trying to find the value of the house. They go pull up a bunch of comps, figure up the square foot, So an appraisal is ordered by the bank because the bank wants to make sure that what they're lending money, the comps come in, the appraisal comes in, it's worth what we're lending on it. Because obviously there's a problem if we give them way more money than it's worth, and they defunct on it. Now we've got, obviously that's basic there. But, when the bottom fell out and they, all these regulations, I guess Dodd-Frank and some of the other things. So what they said was, that some of these lenders possibly have these appraisers in their back pocket. So we want to eliminate that. So now it's kind of a random, like a rotation almost.
Yeah, Rolodex, I think they call it, right?
Yeah. So they're just like next up at bat, but then it's like, so it's basically become socialized. It's not like you can go out and market for business. Yeah. But then what happens is you wind up getting an appraiser that's from the other side of town who's not even familiar with the area that's being appraised, whereas before. So, what we don't want as an industry is us to appear like we're in the realtor's back pocket and, something come down the pike and say, you know what, they're from now on going to have to be randomly assigned, because, again, like you said, the quality is going to erode. It's just, they're worried about collusion, which I don't think there is any, but you could certainly.
I don't either. Yeah.
A good lawyer could make it look like there is. I know they could. So anyway, anything you want to fill in? That's kind of my basic broad strokes of sort of what.
Well, in addition to that, what we've seen an erosion of is the reporting on minimum property standards, right? USDA, VA, FHA type loans have what we call minimum property standards associated with those loans. Right. And the appraisers coming out who are poorly trained on those items that don't meet minimum property standards aren't calling them out. And so there's a loss of consistency there associated with reporting on items that really must be repaired in accordance with these minimum property standards guidelines.
Right.
So it's just kind of all over the board. You just don't know. The realtors don't know what's going to happen. They don't know how to prepare their sellers for items that should be fixed and repaired so the property's in good condition to be sold without these appraisal issues coming up and long jamming their deal. And so it's unfortunate that the loss of consistency that's happened.
Awesome. I mean, not awesome, but awesome your reply. Not awesome of what happened, but
sure,
I think that was good. Right. Well, Richard, got a couple more questions. We may skip a few because I know you got to get to the gym, and we went overboard on a couple. But like we said in the beginning, that's okay. If the conversation's good, man, it's value. I mean, I wrote the questions. It's not like, this is a standard we have to get through. This is just sort of an outline of things. But if the conversation goes out somewhere and it's a good conversation, then that's okay. I want to ask your opinion on something. I know you see this, and it bothers me a little bit. Do you have the contractors throwing you under the bus up there? Especially the mold guys and sometimes the HVAC guy. You get the call later. I had a mold guy. Your home inspector should have fill in the blank, and sometimes there's fear involved. What's your opinion on that? I mean, I don't think there's really an answer, but I'm always looking for, is there a way to be proactive or nip that in the bud, or what's your feelings on that sort of thing?
Well, so we offer a lot of services. So termite inspection, we do mold testing. We've got the test all certifications and so forth, and I think that's a good basis for mold testing. And water testing and radon testing and basically anything but the septic will test it for you if you need it. So the mold doesn't become much of an issue. However, so one thing that we do, we don't tell people how to fix it. They'll ask, well, how should I fix that? And I'll tell them, well, quite honestly, there's half a dozen ways to fix it. So I can tell you one way that I think you should fix it. However, here's what's going to happen. Contractor's going to come out here, you're going to present the problem with them, and you're going to say, the home inspector said we should fix this way. And undoubtedly, the contractor's going to turn around, that home inspector's an idiot. That's not how you fix this thing. Here's how you should do it. So we'll make a point, and I'll tell that story to the person, listen, I can tell you how to fix it. And ultimately, the contractor's going to come out here, he's going to have a different way, he's going to call it and say, that home inspector's an idiot. You don't know how to fix this thing. Here's how you do it. So I tell people that when they ask. And they get it. And say, listen, I'm reporting the problem. I'm reporting a qualified professional to come in and evaluate it and make recommendations to repair and to repair it. And I'm going to leave it up to him how he wants to get it fixed. And I find that helps tremendously when the client or agent is not telling the contractor that the home inspector said to fix it this way.
Right. Yeah, and I can't control what people say after me. That's another big thing of stoicism. There's things I can control and things I can't control, and I just can't waste any time with stuff I can't control. And one of the things I can't control is what people say after me, or let it bother me. What is it that lions don't lose sleep with the opinions of sheep?
Exactly.
I mean, I hate to say that, but I do want to touch on professionalism, and I kind of have a rule in my company and my family that serves well, and that's, it's okay to disagree. Hey, disagree is good because maybe that'll lead us to something better. Like you kind of alluded to that earlier. But it's not okay to disrespect. We are not going to fall into disrespect. And if it gets to a point where it's heated, we just say, you know what, we're going to have to agree to disagree on that and let it go. But not, I hate you to the ends of the earth just because you don't see this the way I see it. That's crazy. Right. That's just crazy. Unfortunately, I do not control some of the home inspection forums out there. And sometimes you see, the egos, and I wish we could all remember, you don't see doctors, on forums telling each other they're idiots and blah, 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 blah. And also, you got new inspectors coming out that, hey, we were all new once, man. We were all new. Don't hate. There's some guys that just hate every new person. I mean, it's just like, they're a bunch of idiots, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, look, dude, I'm 48 years old. I'm only, I'm not going to be doing this forever. There's 23-year-olds, 22-year-olds. Somebody has to, but don't just kill them because they ask a question. That just makes me angry when I see a young inspector ask a valid question on a forum, and some guy just buries him, like basically tells him he's an idiot, and and it bothers me. It's getting better, I think. The old forums that were non-social media forums were the worst. I mean, I couldn't even get on there anymore because there's just a couple people on there that just looking to jump on anybody. Anyway, I think it's getting better. But what's your opinion on that? Any suggestions? I
do see some of it. I don't really know a lot of home inspectors besides the group that I'm involved in. It's more of a national group. That I got to think of, are very high quality people, and these are people that are willing to share with each other in a closed format. So I see some of these groups, and I don't participate in them because I do see some negativity there, but I look at them on stuff on Facebook, the various groups, and I think that the more there's a standard for operating in training of these new inspectors, the less of that's going to happen. And I think that's important because I do see a low quality threshold for, first of all, a low point of entry to the industry.
Yeah, that's true.
In Maryland, it's a 72-hour class, take a test. You're a home inspector.
Right.
And so low point of entry. So that's going to breed a group that doesn't know that much.
Sure.
And so how do you get them ramped up, right? So the industry, I think, needs to look at that in a way of getting these people ramped up in a quality way. And one of the things we'll do by doing that, by having that point of entry a little bit higher, is maintain our price point, right? Always have the opportunity to increase pricing rather than get sucked into some situation where you're actually lowering your prices. Because that new guy comes in, doesn't know that much, and is maybe charging less and so forth. And that may be appealing to some people. So increasing the point of entry, I see is one thing to be doing for sure. And I think, quite honestly, and I know you know Kevin O'Malley pretty well, and Michael Casey, those guys. Some years ago when I started, right, Homeowners Network didn't exist yet, but they had a technical service then. And their technical service is, hey, you got a question, we'll give you an app for your phone, we'll give you this website to go on, and you go on there, click on your question, and we're going to get your response quickly, and a quality response quickly.
Right.
And that's been, I think, in the beginning for me, and still is. I still use it all the time. I mean, I'm still a member on the professional side of Homeowners Network, and I pay for that. But it's invaluable because I have a question, even on site. I can snap a picture, type in a question, and I'm going to get a response in about 15 minutes.
Yeah, my guys use it. My guys use it.
It's invaluable, right?
They love it.
Yeah.
They love it. Yeah. Yeah,
I think I would, so I'll put a pitch out for Homeowners Network and Kevin O'Malley on that to say that, these guys, I think, because I'm still using it, that they should absolutely be using their service or a service like theirs and pay for it because you're going to get responses quickly. And I see the Facebook responses. You get all these different responses, blah, 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 blah. You don't want to sift through all that stuff. I mean, that's that.
Sure.
You want to ask a question, you want to get an answer, and you want it to be the right answer. Awesome. So I think I would encourage, a service like that anyway.
Awesome. Well, a couple more questions here, and I'll let you get to the gym, Richard. What is the? And remember, this is a G-rated show. This question. What is the crazy? I've got some crazy. Well, the reason I say that, the first couple of interviews, I did not say that, and woohoo. What is the wildest, craziest, or weirdest thing you or your guy has found on a home inspection?
Well, in this business, one interesting thing about this business is you see something new every day,
Right.
You see something new every day. So I thought about this. What was my answer? I had to, I wrote it down. I haven't seen, besides just seeing something different every day, I really haven't seen that many crazy things. Okay, blow up doll in the corner of an attic. I mean, that's certainly...
Right.
And maybe that was one of the craziest things. Okay, I remember one. It wasn't too long ago. So we call it the West Virginia bidet. So nicknamed it. So anyway, so you know how it's your kitchen sink, right? You got your little spray wand there, the kitchen sink.
Sure.
So in this particular case, he's sitting at the commode, and to the left of the commode, hanging on the wall, is your spray wand.
Nice. Nice.
That was in West Virginia, because we service West Virginia, Maryland, and Pennsylvania. And they call it the West Virginia bidet.
I'm going to have some West Virginia folks email me.
Yeah, sure. Hey, this happens nothing against. Yeah, I love West Virginia, by the way.
I
Just to be clear for the West Virginia people.
Yeah.
I love driving down there. It's beautiful. Land is beautiful. It's gorgeous. 20 minutes from my house. But it happened to be in West Virginia, so otherwise I'd call it Pennsylvania today.
I laugh at that and think, oh my gosh. But honestly, when my kids were really young and in diapers, that would have been really handy. That would have been.
I mean, I laugh too, but I like it. I'm like, hey, yeah, I like it.
Well, I used to have a saying, there's a fine line between genius and redneck.
Yeah, that's true. That's right.
Sometimes you cross a little bit one way or the other. So anyway,
exactly.
I mean, sometimes you look at something redneck, but I'm like, it's kind of genius. I mean, it looks redneck, but it's kind of genius. So anyway, Richard, do you have a training or internet marketing or not internet? I'm sorry, not internet marketing, internet or marketing resource or an app or anything that you found that's been useful you'd be willing to share?
Well, I mean, I think that the simple answer to that is if you're not using ISN,
yeah,
I mean, you're missing out. It's funny. I was at a conference recently, and one of my competitors, it was a local Maryland conference, and one of my competitors, who's a great guy, and I don't know a lot of home inspectors locally. I just don't. I just stay away from it. I'm doing my thing. Whatever you're doing, that's your business. I don't need to know about it. I don't need to be a part of it. I just know what I'm doing. But this guy, I've referred some business to him, some overflow business, and he's a nice guy, does a good job, and so forth. So I'm sitting at this little conference with him, and I said, he asked me, turns to me and says, hey, what do you think of this ISN service? I'm like, oh, man, it sucks. Those guys don't.
He was your local.
Because they were in the hall, but right. Michelle, from ISN was out in the hall, and I know all those people well, and she's out in the hall, and so I'm so that's what I'm telling them. I'm telling them, yeah, those, you want to play that. Yeah. So I go out there afterwards, and I'm chuckling with her, and I tell her this story,
Right.
And she says, "What's his name?" So I give her his name, and he goes, "Oh, he signed up the second he walked in the door this morning." I'm like,
Well, I just thought of something that, as far as getting good advice, is when your competitor tells you not to do something, do it.
Right. There you go. That's what happened then a couple months later, though. So I run into him a couple months later, and I said, hey, man, how's it going with ISN? He goes, no, man, tell you the truth, man, this thing looks like a pain in the ass to set up. I'm not going to mess with it. I'm just going to keep doing it the way I'm doing it. And I'm like, okay, man, whatever you say. Whatever you say.
No, it makes your life. There is a little bit of a learning curve with it, but man,
sure.
It's so worth it. I mean, it simplifies your life. I mean, way before that, well, we had another one called ISS, but before that, my gosh, we were putting it on what was it? We were putting it on Outlook calendar.
Oh,
it was horrible because everybody could see what everybody else had, and there was so much inner jealousy. And how come he got the $535 inspection and mine's only $495? Like, oh my God, dude, I don't even I'm not that organized to screw you like that. I mean, it just. You're over analyzing things. I mean, it just happened. Tomorrow you'll get the 535 one. I mean, it's just so nitpicky.
Yeah, that averages out.
Yeah, you don't want anything where inspectors can see what the other inspectors have. All right.
Okay. So we're tied into that, right? Real estate dashboard, your website, scheduling on your website live, all that stuff. I mean, just incredible. For what you're paying there, there is no better value for your business than ISN.
Awesome. I'm going to add one, not as valuable as ISN, but and I've said this before. Waze, get WAZE, free app. This is a lot of people probably already have it. It's your what do you call it, GPS. But the great thing about Waze, WAZE, it lets you, it reroutes you if there's traffic. It's interactive, tells you where the police are, tells you where the traffic jams. It's awesome. WAZE, highly recommended.
You have to talk to ISN to integrate that into their mapping. Because when you pull up your ISN app on your phone and you click Map, it ties into your GPS on the phone and takes you to the next stop if you're not using GPS in the car. But it would be nice to have a Waze option on there. I'll have to mention that in the ISN ideas group.
That would be great because it's GPS. And GPS is great. Maps uses, but the one thing most GPS don't take account for is traffic jams, or because what it is, Wazers, and they're dedicated, man. If they get in a traffic jam, they push it. So it's constantly calculating routes, like how far, and it'll reroute you if there's a faster way, and it's pretty awesome.
That makes sense.
Well, Richard, listen, I'm on the last page here. Is there anything you're working on right now that has you stoked?
That has me, I'm sorry, what?
Has you stoked or excited? Anything you're working on right now that you're got coming out or in the future?
Training more team members. I mean, that has me stoked.
Okay.
Because I'm envisioning a 10-hour work week. I'm not going to have to train a bunch of people in order to do that.
I hear you.
I'm stoked to get those people trained and going because we're holding back on the marketing right now. We're holding back. We got the reins on. I say, half halt. It's a horse term, but half halt. We're half halting on the marketing because we're turning down 10 inspections a week right now. So what's the point of doing more marketing if we're going to keep turning this stuff down, right?
Sure.
So it has me stoked. We just brought on another transaction coordinator, and actually Erin in my office, who's doing that position now, she has another business. She likes business plans for companies, and she's been turning away some business because she's been focusing on what we're doing. And so she's going to pull back. We got our new person's in. She's been in a couple of weeks. She happens to be a real estate agent, which I was a little hesitant on, but I couldn't find a reason why I was hesitant. So I'm like, yeah, let's do it. But she gives us access to the MLS system as well. So I'm stoked to get a new inspector on the road. I'm stoked for creating a training program that works, it's effective. That stuff fires me up.
Awesome.
We need consistency.
Well, if you get to that 10-hour work week, I'm coming to visit you, brother. Because, man, I've been looking for that forever. I can't even get a 10-hour work day right now. I haven't even got it down to that. So, but cheers to
well, one thing is you got to want it, right? I mean, you got to say, first of all, anything's possible. And so you got to declare it, and you got to see it, envision it, and all that good stuff. But anything is possible.
Well, and I read one time somewhere, I wish I had the exact quote, but, being an entrepreneur, to really, it's like in the beginning, entrepreneurs do everything, and they do it best. Yeah. But you get to a point where you then systematically have to turn or delegate all this stuff you did over to other people. And it's very hard because it's like handing your, how a lot of women don't want to, let another woman hold their baby. There's like this, well, I think to a lot of entrepreneurs, that business is their baby, but there, you hit a bottleneck. You can only grow so much when everything has to go through you. At some point, you've got to delegate and, give other people authority. I always give this example. It's like everybody, the bad thing for me is, everybody wants to talk to me all the time. And I'm like, do you think Bill Gates answers every Microsoft question? Do you think if you had a problem with your iPhone, you're going to get the CEO of freaking Apple? I mean, I know it was Steve Jobs. I don't know who it is now. Or, if you have a problem at Disney, or if you have a problem at Disney, are you going to get Michael Eisner on the phone? No, but you're going to get it taken care of because they're a good company. But it's not going to be by the CEO. He has people in place. So I always keep telling myself that. But it doesn't always.
Well, we create these stories, right? I mean, and not to say, because you just said a story. Your story was that no one could take care of it as good as you. And whatever story we come up with is going to be the story.
Right.
So
right.
if the story is, you know what, there could be someone that actually you can do it better than me.
It's taken me a while to come to that. People ask me would I be doing the inspection, now, every now and then, and I'm like, honestly, I got guys that can probably do the inspection better than me now.
Yeah, right.
Because they've been doing it. I'm not in the trenches every day today, and they are, and they've been for years, and they've gotten better. Well, Richard, if you had to move to a brand new town or area equal to the size, population, everything equal to where you are now, but you had to start all over. Now, all your equipment, room and board, all that's paid for, but you got $5,000 to market or get to know people. What are you going to do with that $5,000? Let's say you got a week. What are you going to do to get yourself known?
Well, remember, this is a simple business.
Right.
And I see guys making it complicated, and I don't understand that. So I do two things. One, I visit 10 real estate offices, and I set up a marketing display.
Mm-hmm.
And I would meet as many people in there as I could, and I would have something different to offer that the other people aren't offering. So, of course, my marketing materials and so forth would be highly professional and well put together and well thought out. And my service offering also would be as complete as possible, so they could turn to one person to get most of their needs fulfilled, at least.
Right.
And I would consistently hit those 10 offices every single week without fail.
Right.
The first week. So that's what I would do the first week. Second thing I would do is find the top 10 networking groups in the area. And I say 10, let's say 5 even. Top 5 networking groups in the area that have influential people or the type of people that I'm looking to be associated with. Might be Chamber of Commerce. I'm not a big D&I fan personally, just for certain reasons. Not that that's necessarily a bad group, but actually one of the reasons why is because there's only one lender and one real estate agent.
Yeah, right.
I got them. I'm gonna get them anyway. So as soon as I've got them, I've got nowhere else. I'm now basically just spinning my wheels.
And then it's a weekly commitment. Like that's.
And it's a weekly commitment. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing bad about
between,
B&I, but I agree with you on B&I.
No,
Go ahead.
It's not. Right. It works just for that reason only. No other reason. Is the weekly commitment and the fact there's only one lender and one real estate agent.
Right.
We are also FHA 203K consultants, so I haven't touched on that. But anyway, so you're talking about the two things I would do is find some good networking groups where I'm going to be rubbing shoulders with people that can refer business to me. And, of course, I see these other home inspectors show up to these events. No uniform. They're in jeans. I mean, that's fine, guys, and everything, but you present yourself as a professional. If you're going to be a professional, look like a professional. Order some button-down shirts. They're cheap. Long-sleeve button-down shirt with your company logo on it. It looks good. It should be sharp. It should be clean. You don't even have to iron these things these days. All you got to do is yank them out of the dryer when they come out and put them on a hanger, and they look prepped.
Right.
I have a different uniform for going to networking events than the uniform for home inspections. So you better believe that the guys are in khaki pants, long pants, with a proper shirt on. They look professional. And if we're counting we should be getting about $175 an hour. If you get charged $175 an hour, you can afford to go buy some uniforms and show up looking the part like a professional.
I totally agree with you, although I'm not sure that I'm the guy who you should take fashion advice from.
Oh, yeah, my girlfriend asked me to ask you, what pants are you wearing today? That's
just shorts, but I'm going to a thing later. I'm going to wear the Chick-fil-A cow pants. I just try to be remembered.
My marketing coordinator wears fox pants. She has that she does wear when she goes out. So she's taking the cue from you on that.
Well, it's funny now. I open up my presentations with, hey, these pants are just for marketing. I try to be remembered and embarrass my kids. We don't wear pants on the inspection. Pause. Everybody always laughs. It's obviously.
Right.
But I act like, these pants, like, really? You don't wear pants on the inspection? So anyway, just kind of a little joke.
Get you more inspection.
Yeah, it happened by accident, but it works every time.
Great.
Last two questions here, and I'll let you go. I know we ran a little bit over, but that's all right, man. It was good stuff. Richard, is there anything that I should have asked you that I didn't?
There's not. I mean, really, I think I can't think of anything offhand. I did think about that. I think for me, creating, what I always think about though, is a philosophy in life. So if to talk about that a little bit, if I would say, because again, you create your story.
Right.
You get any story you want to create. If your story, and mine used to be when I had 70 employees, my story used to be when that was building, could never find good people. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And guess what happened? I could never find good people.
Right.
And I changed my story. My story changed to, I will always find great people exactly when I need them. And I changed my story to that. And guess what happened? Great people started showing up exactly when I needed them.
Awesome.
So you get to create your story. It's up to you. And whatever you want it to be, it can be based on past experience if you want, but you're a creator for business people. So don't look back, look forward. You get to create whatever story you want. And guess what? That becomes your story. My story. Great people always show up exactly when I need them.
Awesome. Well, and it's somewhat related. It's funny, my kids go around and repeat this, but it's kind of good, but people look a little funny when they say that. I always say, look, we're all going to die. I mean, my father died last year. I mean, we're all going to die. How do you want to spend that time between now and then? And do you want to spend it, especially when you get around people who are just miserable, they're just negative people, and I just can't deal with it, man. My clock's ticking, brother, and I can't spend time around that.
Not at all.
I tell my kids, I said, when I was a kid, we used to go to Carowinds once a year, which is a theme park. We didn't have a whole lot of money, and my mom said, we're here this time, we're leaving at this time. What do y'all want to do? And I said, we rode every ride once and went back and rode the good rides twice. And I said, life is like that. The park's going to close. You're going to die. So go ride all the good rides once and ride all the good rides twice. And don't waste any time in between. And that being negative and getting caught up in drama, you're wasting your time. The clock is, so anyway, sorry. Got off on a tangent.
No, I have no tolerance for negativity whatsoever. It just doesn't, there's just no place for it.
It doesn't serve. I mean, I'm not saying go around with rose-colored glasses on, but, if there's something negative, all right, if it's broken, let's fix it, but let's just not sit around and dwell on it being broken.
Well, there's two things you can control in life, right? Stuff you can do something about and stuff you can't.
That's
so
right.
If you can't do anything about it, why worry about it?
That's right.
Worry about the stuff you can do something about.
That's right.
And I firmly believe in that. And I look at any problem like that. If I'm worried about this, can I do something about it or can't I? If the answer is no, move on.
Well, and that's kind of like politics. I mean, people get so caught up in that. And I mean, the honest truth is I can't change any of that. But you know what I can change is my world and my ecosphere, my family. That's what I have control of. That's what I focus on. I don't listen to that stuff all day long because that'll just get you depressed and, stuff that you can't change it. You can't control it.
You can't change it, right?
You can control your ecosystem and so spend time on that.
Exactly. I agree.
Is there a question you'd like to ask me?
Well, there is. I didn't have to think too much about this one. Do you have any unique hiring and training processes?
Do I have any unique hiring and training processes? I would love to say there's like this written down, I've got this secret little, but, I've got...
I was hoping you were going to say that,
yeah. I've gotten quality guys and gals from different sources, and I'll give you a couple of those, and I've got duds, or Ryan Leaf, so to speak, if you're familiar with that, that was the #1 draft pick that just exploded, I've had guys that just were fantastic in the interview, said all the right things, and they got out there, and they were terrible.
Yeah.
I'll give you I'll throw a couple of ideas out there. I like guys that, like if you go into a real estate office and you look at marketing material, I'm looking for the guy with the worst the worst marketing material. It looks like, you know, it was made on a dot matrix printer circa 1995, you know, because this guy, you know, obviously isn't great at marketing, but that doesn't mean he's not a great inspector. He might be a great inspector, and great, you know, and you know, it may be beneficial for both of y'all if he works for you, I mean, or with you or associate. Along those same lines, I kind of like the idea of like, you know, if you Google your area and you know, your town home inspection your area. Hopefully you come up in the top 3 if you're doing all your SEO and stuff. Well, that's great. All those guys on the first page, that's great. Go to about page 4, 5, or 6 and look for the guys who are there, who are not on page 1, 2, or 3. They, same sort of thing. They probably aren't that great at marketing, but that doesn't mean they're not a great home inspector. So, I mean, that's kind of my advice. I also say just be friendly to every inspector, even if they're ugly to you in your market, you know, and always think of them as a potential person that can work for you, even if they're your competitor now. Because, you know, this business, it's simple, but the problem is there's 3 parts to it, and that is, you know, the actual inspection, the technician part. There's the marketing part, going out and getting business, and then there's the administrative part, you know, the scheduling, rescheduling, sending out termite letters, invoices, answering price quotes, that sort of thing. It is very hard for one person to do all 3. You know, very hard, and you can't be good at all 3. So, you know, I always market what I offer. Most guys want to do the technical part, and they're good at the technical part. But, you know, the marketing part, it's like they'll market for a while, they'll get some business, they'll start doing inspections, they'll stop marketing. And that works out for a little while, but real estate agents, man, they move around, they get in and out of the business. So, you know, you had these 15 agents that were using you, all of a sudden now they're down to like 8, 7, and the phone's not ringing, and so now you got to go out and market again. And, you know, you're trying to answer your phone, you know, in a crawl space, and it's just not. So, you know, my thing is always, you know, how would you like to just do the inspections, have somebody marketing for you 24/7, and have all the administrative taken care of, and you can go on vacation and have a life. So that's kind of always been my appeal, you know. So I'm looking, so to come back to answer your question, I'm looking for guys who are tired of doing all 3 jobs.
Like they got some experience and some technical ability, which shortens the learning curve to go into your philosophy. You know, whatever your company philosophy is.
Right. And I've had some guys that, you know, I've known for a long time, and they just finally got tired of having to do it all. And, you know, they like just being able to just do what the part of it they want to do is the inspection part of it. You know, and it's another reason it's hard to do all, because I used to do all is, you know, I would go do an inspection, then I had a presentation that afternoon, and, oh, my gosh, you know, I'm dirty. I got spider webs in my hair, you know, because I've been in a crawl space, and now I'm going to get in front of a bunch of people who wear suits. You know, it just didn't work out that well. So I guess to answer your question, I'm looking for guys who are good inspectors, but maybe not that great at marketing or are tired of all of that, of that. You know, you can also, let's see, what else? There's usually a list. If your state is licensing state, there's a list.
Yes.
You can get hold of that list. You can also, like you said, I'm telling you, there's a ton of inspectors that are members of InterNACHI. You can go to the list on that in your area.
Sure.
When you go out marketing, you know, inspectors, crafting your letter or whatever, and my letter says a lot like what I just said, are you tired of doing all 3? You're going to get a little bit of hate from some folks, and I'll tell you that right now. You know, I got one anonymous one back going, you know, if you keep doing this, I'm going to write bad reviews about you online. You know, basically it threatened me, extorted me, or whatever you want to call it. And I'm just like, okay, that's great. I understand how you feel. Please let me know who you are so that I won't send you anymore. And they never would respond.
Yeah, right. Get you off that list.
Yeah, but you know, I pretty much know.
What was their concern around it? What were they concerned about?
I was sending out letters to, basically I have a letter that's like a hats letter. It's like, are you tired of wearing too many hats, doing all this? And, it's kind of sour grapes. Think about it. If you're not doing a whole lot of business and then you get a letter, this guy's recruiting. So he's obviously doing well and you're not. And, and then I've been on the other side of that too. I mean, we all like to hate, hate on celebrities and stuff like that. Like my wife likes the Kardashians and I like to hate on them. But if I really stop and think about it, I'm like, you know what? They're making money, and they've got the eyeballs, like them or not.
Yep.
Lots of people watch them, and that's valuable. So you got to respect that. So I get it.
Yep.
I get it. And I have to step away from it and say, sour grapes. And I've been guilty of being sour grapes myself. So I'm not gonna, like you said, things you can control and things you can't. I can't control what they think. I just keep doing my thing. But I did want you to be prepared for that, or somebody to be. When you go out recruiting, it's not going to be a love fest. You'll get a little bit of hate from some people. But eventually, if you're nice and you're professional and you just stay that way, always let your actions and your reactions be a reflection of you, not the person that sent the hate your way. And eventually, there will be a few that recognize that and say, you know what, I'm tired of, 1-2 inspections a week and just constantly doing all 3 jobs. That Fox guy, every time I met him, he seems professional and he's been nice to me. I'm going to give him a shot. Now, I think and I've had something like that. You just consistently, be the nice guy, be the, and it's not an act. I mean, it's not an act. It's just,
right. No.
But you hold back from being negative and hold back from saying negative comments, even when the impulse does hit you.
Yeah.
So.
The old adage, what goes around comes around. I mean, there is some real truth to that. So I've tested it many times. And, only good things will happen if you're positive about stuff, and only bad things will happen if you're negative about stuff. So
that's right. That's right. Yeah, and people ask, why are you so positive? Obviously it beats the damn alternative, and we're going to die. Your clock is ticking. You have less time today than you had yesterday, and you'll have even less time left tomorrow. How do you want to spend that time?
Sure.
Don't squander it. So anyway, Brother Richard, I appreciate your time. You have dropped gold nuggets. How can, and all the listeners out there, if you got some value from Richard, let's go to his Facebook page and give him some likes. I think that helps him with SEO. So tell us, how do we find your Facebook page?
Well, certainly if it's Fox Mountain Property Inspections, it should be pretty easy to find. So always appreciate Google reviews, guys. Reviews of the future, right? Millennials sometimes aren't looking at their agents for a referral, and they're relying on online reviews. So we should all be helping each other gain positive online Facebook and Google reviews. I think are the 2 most powerful ones out there, probably.
Yeah, and
I think Google reviews is probably the future there.
Yeah, and I tell people, it's okay for an inspector to review another inspection. Some people say, "Oh, that's cheap." I'm like, if I've known certain guys 10 years and been friends with them and talked to them, I actually probably know them better than the homeowner did. Now, granted, I didn't inspect the house, but I can speak on what I know about them as being a friend, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Well, and you probably don't want to give out your cell number, although some have, but is there an email or a way, if somebody wanted to get in touch with you or follow up, if that's okay, if you're willing to do that, is there an email or a way that they could get in touch with you, Richard?
Well, probably the easiest way to do it is info@foxmt.com. So that's our website, and we really do need to. I did it on my website initially when we launched 5 years ago. It is on the list this year for revamping. I get compliments on it, honestly, but I don't see why. I think it needs some serious work. But fair enough, sometimes we're our biggest own critics. But foxmt.com, I like simple, right? So that's simple. So email, that's one is just info@foxmt.com. And Erin in the office, she'll pick that stuff up and filter stuff to me as needed. But feel free to use that.
Awesome. Well, don't forget, guys, listeners out there, go give this guy, Fox Mountain Properties, some likes on Facebook. And I'm going to let you get to your workout. And I appreciate your time this morning, Richard.
Awesome, man. Look forward to seeing you, Preston.
All right.
Appreciate
have a good
it.
one, brother. Take it easy.
All right. You too. Great. Bye-bye.
Guys, I want to talk to you about a way that you can make more money and less liability. Actually, no liability. InspectNewHomes.com. InspectNewHomes.com. What happened is one of the largest builders in our market came to us and wanted us to do all the pre-inspections on all of their new homes. But they didn't want us to use just our normal reporting software. They wanted a system set up specifically for a builder so that they could do quality control on their subs, and they could also advertise that all their homes were inspected by a third party. So we came up with this software, this system, a website, a whole turnkey thing where you can take this and take it to your builder and show them how you can save them time, save them money, reduce the adversarial relationship. And it's a whole new market. You will not have to compete with other home inspectors for this market, and it reduces the adversarial relationship with the builder, and best of all, there's no liability. So I'm telling you, it is great. It's phenomenal. I'd love to tell you the amount of money we've made with this system, a lot, but you're welcome to check it out, InspectNewHomes.com, or on the Successful Home Inspector podcast, you can, there's a tab on there as well. All right, if you would like to make some more money with almost no liability, check out InspectNewHomes.com.
Thanks for checking out the Successful Home Inspector podcast. You can find show links at thesuccessfulhomeinspector.com. Check out the website for special offers, information, and other resources. Thanks again for listening to the Successful Home Inspector podcast. And remember to check back for new episodes. The Successful Home Inspector podcast is brought to you by Preston Sandlin and Home Inspection Carolina.